What's up, guys? Hope you're all doing well. Now today we're going to be talking about an unused design for Godzilla that was made in the mid-2000s. This is the creature we were originally going to get for the last film in the Millennium era. So Godzilla Final Wars was the last movie in the third era of the Monsters library. It featured a gigantic roster of returning creatures that were all made to fight Godzilla for his 50th anniversary. For the first time in years, redesigned versions of Gigan, King Caesar, and Anguirus were all scheduled to make a comeback during the events of that film. And all of them looked pretty different from what they did in the Showa era. These redesigns would also affect Godzilla, and during production, this wild and mutant-looking design was originally created for him. What's most interesting about this form of the monster is the fact that it shares many physical attributes with another creature in the series past, Space Godzilla. And I say that due to the spiky, monstrous look that the design has, as well as the comparable colors between the two creatures. Apparently, this design was created by Yasushi Nirasawa while working on the film, and you can already tell that this thing differs greatly from the final design that they used in the finished product. Now, one of the reasons I think they decided to go with something different for the actual movie has to do with the fact that this version of the monster looks a bit more terrifying and villainous when compared to the amalgamation of other designs that the finished movie ultimately put together and filmed. The version that we see of Godzilla in the final film is something far more congruent with the kind of monster and tone that they were going for, but to say that this early concept doesn't look equally as awesome is an understatement in my opinion. You can tell from the direction they took the spikes and broad chest plate in that this was a Godzilla that was meant to be extremely formidable, and something that would have been far darker than the more Showa-inspired story that Final Wars eventually ran with. This is a Godzilla that just looks monstrous, and it's probably one of the most intimidating designs that I think was ever drawn up for the character. In fact, I think you can even buy a statue of it somewhere online. Fans of the franchise can be a little particular when it comes to new variations of their favorite creature though, and judging by the kind of reactions Godzilla 1998 and apparently some of what Shin Godzilla received, I can see why this more menacing look was retooled into the final design. Now, Godzilla Final Wars is an interesting chapter in the Monsters saga because it doesn't really follow any of the other films' continuity too well. It's a celebration of what came before, but it isn't a sequel to anything that came before it like Tokyo SOS, Megaguirus, or 2000 were. It was, however, believed for a while by some fans to be something of a continuation to Godzilla vs. Destroya, believe it or not, due to the opening montage of this movie ending with footage of Godzilla Jr.'s revival from the end of that film. And with this design looking somewhat similar to Space Godzilla, another creature born from that 1990s continuity, well, I can kind of see where the misunderstanding could have come from. If this design had been left in the final version of the movie, I think we would be looking at a vastly different set of fight scenes and creature moments to what we eventually got. And there's absolutely no way that this thing could in any way, shape, or form be related to Manila, which, dude, that looks nothing like Godzilla, come on. It's already a stretch for most people to believe that this thing is related to a normal-looking Godzilla, so the insane mutant ferocious version wouldn't exactly change any minds, in my personal opinion. Anyways, guys, what do all of you think about this unused design for Godzilla in Final Wars? Do you think they made the right decision in scrapping it and coming up with what they did in the final film, or do you prefer this one? Whatever your own thoughts and opinions happen to be, I'd love to hear them in the comments down below.